Welcome. I am Ashley with Budgets Made Easy and the Money Mindset Podcast. Today, I'm going to talk to you about how much should you save for emergencies, because this can be different for different people. And, all the finance people out there give you different answers. So let's discuss what is the right amount for you and your family, because personal finance is personal. If you haven't already, make sure you have liked and subscribed here on YouTube. If you are listening on the podcast, make sure that you are following so you get the new episodes downloaded automatically. And if you're not on one, check out the other. We just hit 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. So I am working toward my 4,000 watch hours to get monetized for the ads that they show you on YouTube. So if you can help me get there, I would love it. I also want to let you know that next week we will be talking about habits and routines. And I'm actually a speaker at a Purpose Driven Mom Summit, which is a virtual summit. You can get your ticket for free. I'm going to be talking about creating habits and routines to help you pay off debt fast. So if you want to hear that presentation, sign up for your ticket. It's free. I'll put the link below so that you can check out that free summit. There's like 26 different presenters, and I'm one of them. So I would love it if you could join me. My presentation is actually on Thursday morning, but it will be recorded, but I'll be there live for the Q&A. All right, so let's talk about how much you should save for emergencies. Now, we all know that Dave Ramsey says $1,000 minimum, but that's not enough for an emergency, right? So what I typically say is 1,500 to 2,000, but it could be more or less depending on your situation. So if you have a low income, $500 may feel like a lot. So even $500 as a baseline emergency fund is going to keep you out of debt for a lot of little things that will come up while you are working toward your goal of paying off debt and saving a larger emergency fund. Keep in mind that this starter emergency fund is not meant to cover everything. Now, and, if you have never saved anything, set a baseline goal of 500. And then once you hit that, then work toward a larger goal so that you can have a win and that you can hit a milestone quicker and easier so that you can get motivated to keep going, right? Because that is the most important thing, is for you to keep going. So I want you to decide on an amount that works for you and your family. Okay. So once you get at least $1,000, I want you to decide whether or not you need to save more than that. And some of the key factors I want you to consider in deciding how much you should save and if you need to save more are: one, do you have job security? And, in 2023, when I'm recording this, a lot of places are laying people off, even jobs that seemed very secure in the past. You may want to save more if your company is looking toward layoffs, or if you notice, like if you're in sales or if you are in a position where you can see revenue coming in for the business, if you are noticing a drop in revenue, that is an indicator that they could lay people off in the future, because a business has to have revenue or they can't pay people, right? So that is a baseline. If you um, are expecting to quit your job for any reason, medical reasons, if you're moving, if your partner is getting a different job and it, like, doesn't work with your schedule, especially if you have kids, things like that, you're going to want to save more money, right? If you are expecting a move, moves are expensive. So if you're renting or if you're buying a house, or you have an expectation that you could move even within the next year, or maybe you're in the military and they move you every 2 to 3 years, you probably want to save more than $1,000, especially if you are expecting a job loss. Okay. So if you're expecting your income to drop for any reason, you want to save at least 3 months of expenses. Now, that's not 3 months of your total income that you're bringing in now. It's 3 months of expenses that you would need to pay if you lost your job. So, more than likely, it's going to be a little bit less. And it's going to depend on if you have a partner that you're sharing expenses with, because it is really just like you would um what you would use your money for. And if there are things that if you lost your job you would cancel, then you don't need to save for those either, right? So keep that in mind. It's not 3 months of your income that you're saving, it's 3 months of expenses that you would need to pay for if you didn't have a job. So that's number one. If you are expecting to lose income in the near future, you want to save more money, right? Like that's just makes sense, right? Now that I say it out loud, it's probably like, oh yeah, actually that makes sense. If your job is seasonal and like like especially like manual labor or construction, if it slows down in the winter time, you need to save more money, right? Because you need to save to um, offset the low months. So that is an expectation you want to be able to prepare for. And you should know, if you've been in your field even a year, you know when the slow times are. So you have to save or you need to save for the times when your income is expected to drop. And if it doesn't, yay, you get a bonus, right? But it's better to have the money saved than not. You also want to save more if you have a lot of medical expenses. Say, for example, you're going to have another child, if you have a surgery coming up, especially if you have a high deductible plan or you're not sure what insurance is going to cover, or if you don't have insurance, you're going to want to save a little bit more in case you have some medical procedures that you need to pay for. The other thing would be if you know that you're going to have a large expense coming up and you don't have the money saved already for that category. So that could be vehicles. So maybe you have, you're going to need new tires in the next year. Now, technically, that could go into a vehicle fund, but if it's in a month or two, you're going to have to save, faster. Or maybe if your car is just getting really old and you're worried or having issues. So maybe you're starting to have mechanical issues and you want to kind of have that buffer there in case something happens with your car. I mean, you need a car to get to work, right? More than likely. You need a car to get the kids to school and to daycare and all of the things. So a car really is an essential thing that you need to have. And so if you need to set some extra money aside in your emergency fund for now, that is something that you should do. All right. Let me know in the comments if there's something else that you are saving for before you're paying off debt. Now, keep in mind that we are saving this starter emergency fund before you're paying off debt because you don't want to split your focus. You can get it done faster and then move on to paying off debt once you hit that. Whatever your goal is. Now, remember, have a minimum goal, a mid level goal, and then like a big goal so that even if something comes up, you have to use your emergency fund before you hit the big goal. As long as you are hitting those smaller milestones, it's going to help you feel like you're actually making progress. Because if you get up to $900 and you have to spend 500 on your car, and your minimum goal is 500, you just need another 100 and you've hit your minimum goal again. And so it doesn't feel as defeating as it does when you are not reaching that big goal. And I have learned that through experience that you need to set smaller goals because sometimes our big goals are just too big or maybe unrealistic. But it's just mentally defeating when you're not hitting them. And so make some smaller goals so you can get that win and keep going. So make a larger emergency fund, more than 1,500 or 2,000, depending on your job security. If you have any major expenses coming up in the near future, obviously I've talked about like what some of those expenses would be, but generally speaking, if you know you're going to have or could have a major expense in the next year, have a larger emergency fund. It could be $2,000. It could be $3,000. It just kind of depends on your situation. I'm not going to guilt you and shame you if you decide to save 3 months of expenses before paying off debt. Like, why would I? At least you're saving money. So, either way, whatever you save is less money or less of a chance that you're going to have to use a credit card when something happens. Because guess what? Life is going to happen. And for almost everybody, it's going to take you at least 2 years or longer, even 3 or 4 years to pay off your debt. Stuff's gonna happen in that time. So, as you are going, if you can save more money to start with, you're gonna be able to keep making progress on your debt and not have those setbacks. That's gonna help you mainly mentally. This is mainly to keep you motivated to keep going when things happen, because I guarantee you things will happen. You can't just say, "Oh, I'll deal with it when it happens." Trust me, if you have some money saved and your car breaks down, yes, it's stressful that you're having to deal with it, but it's not as stressful if your car breaks down and you don't have the money to fix it. It's just different mentally when you have that money saved, even though you could swipe a credit card or some of you maybe not, but most of you probably you could, swipe a credit card. Um, it's just different mentally. And I want you to be prepared mentally as well as financially to get through these setbacks because it's life and it's going to happen. Like nothing is perfect. It's never going to go perfectly. And you just have to, when you expect it and you prepare for it, like it's not even a big deal when it happens because it's like, oh, okay, well, I've got it covered. It's fine. Like, of course, it's going to be a little stressful because, like if your car breaks down, that's stressful just because your car broke down, right? But it's not as bad when you have some money set aside for emergencies. It turns into an inconvenience and a frustration more so than like a total full on financial meltdown and mental meltdown that goes along with it. So all right, let me know in the comments if you're on YouTube, what else are you saving for, or do you think you should save for that I haven't even thought of it, that you want to save for before you pay off debt? Let me know, and of course, make sure you like the video. Leave me a comment below. I want to hear from you, and I will talk to you soon.